Hey guys, tonight we embark on a journey to ancient Greece where myths blend with history and a goddess with a keen intellect and fierce spirit shapes the world in unexpected ways. You step into a time when every stone could tell a story if you just knew how to listen. Athena, the venerable goddess of wisdom and war, surveys her domain from the heights of Mount Olympus. But today, her attention drifts elsewhere. You can almost feel her eyes settling on the ground below, zeroing in on the marvel of sound itself. It's not every day you get to witness a deity being inspired. And honestly, you probably won't survive the rigors of divine creativity, but why not give it a shot? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I love hearing from you, so drop your location and local time in the comments. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself in Athens, a city bustling with life and innovation. The sun warms the white marble buildings, casting long shadows in the streets, where merchants haggle over olives and children chase each other with glee. You breathe in deeply, savoring the scent of rosemary and the faint hint of smoke rising from a distant blacksmith's forge. As you wander curious, your thoughts linger on the goddess, examining the airwaves like an artist regarding a blank canvas. Athena, with her characteristic thirst for knowledge and improvement, decided to experiment with sound, turning her attention from crafting armor to crafting music. Her first muse was the wind as it whispered and rustled through the olive trees. What would happen? She pondered if those whispers could be controlled, shaped into something beautiful or meaningful. Delving deeper into her musings, you watch as she calls upon her innate creativity and woven fibers of wisdom. With the materials of the earth at her command strings and hollow reeds, bone and bronze, she conjures tools that will forever change the world's auditory landscape. The lyre delicate and resonant forms in her hands. Now isn't that much cooler than any iPod? The Athenians, ever eager to mimic their beloved goddess, begin crafting their own versions. Skilled hands carve strings from the sinews of sheep, while others carve wood with obsidian blades, as sharp as their wit. You half expect some ancient hipster to appear, claiming they played before it was cool. The lyre's enchanting notes soon weave their way through the city's heart, where history was always being made. The agile figures of young artisans practice their new skills, drawing melodies from music's silent hidden potential, while little throngs of everyday people gather to listen. You wonder if they realize their lives are changing, or if they simply enjoy the sweet escape music offers. Historians still debate over who truly played the first melodies, or whether Athena really did inspire the instrument. And yet, as you wander through bustling plazas, and hearing the melodies floating above the debates seem comically academic. Sometimes the tales we choose to believe are the most enchanting, aren't they? Before you leave the city square, your gaze catches a group of old philosophers under the shade of a sycamore. Their discourse is lively, punctuated by laughter, an occasional clap on a shoulder, or a shake of the head. As you drift closer, their conversation continues, unabated, lively symphonies of words and ideas. mixing with the lyric breezes Athena set in motion. One of them, a particularly animated figure with a beard that seems to have its own personality, pauses in his speech to pluck at a small lyre with surprising tenderness. Each note spills into the air with the clarity of a ringing bell, drawing instinctive sighs of pleasure from listeners nearby, yourself included. There's something magical about understanding that sound could fill not just your ears, but your soul. As dusk falls over Athens, the city seems to settle into its own kind of harmony. You notice the city's vibrancy subdued the bustling lanes, quieting as the sun dips beneath the horizon. Torches flicker to life their flames, dancing in time with Athena's song. It's as if the night itself has understood her intentions, wrapping its comforting arms around you. Isn't it funny how music, a dance of sound waves, can so effortlessly connect the mortal with the divine? You feel a shiver of wonder ripple through you at the thought. It's the kind of moment you want to wrap up and keep safely in your pocket for later. As stars begin to twinkle in the sky, you find yourself humming under your breath the notes springing from a melody crafted thousands of years ago. In that moment, you understand the profound truth. Athena may have inspired the invention, but the people with their dreams and desires brought music to life. Beneath the eternal blue skies of Olympus, where clouds danced lazily across the horizon, you find yourself amidst the many intrigues of the gods. The air is crisp pure, as if washed by 1,000 rains, and yet warmed by a sun that feels as permanent as time itself. Each breath you take is a reminder that here in this world, perched on the shoulders of myths, existence feels grander, yet oddly familiar. Walking through the sprawling gardens of Olympus, your senses delight in a kaleidoscope of colors. Vibrant flowers bloom with audacious indifference to season their aromas, weaving a tapestry of fragrance that hangs in the air. The path beneath your feet is smooth and cool, constructed from polished stones that glisten like captured moonlight. An ancient handiwork that you suspect even real estate historians would envy. The gods of Olympus, you've heard, have a myriad of talents they indulge in when they're not occupied with ruling or interceding in mortal matters. This is the charming peculiarity of omnipotence, isn't it? To engage in leisure, knowing you hold the weight of worlds in your grasp. You chuckle to yourself at the thought, wouldn't we mortals deal with stress better if we were a smidge more divine? Ares, the god of war, harnesses his energy by wrestling. Imagine the ring and amphitheater echoing with the proud cheers of the gods as he crashes down upon challengers, their grunts swallowed by the roar of his might. The discipline of combat satisfies a need within him, an outlet for his ceaseless vigor. Not unlike a gym enthusiast, you muse whose squats are perhaps a little less epic, but just as sweaty. Then there's Apollo Radiance personified, who finds solace and expression through music. His golden harp, finely crafted and resonant, fills the air with symphonies that evoke the gentle rustle of leaves or the exhilarating crescendo of a sunrise. He sings with a voice that meets you like a warm breeze, wrapping your senses in a rich, melodic embrace. Historians still debate whether he had a preference for ballads or serenades. Yet in the end, when you're immortal, does your playlist really matter? You continue to stroll, feeling rather dwarfed by the scenery, when a clinking and clattering draws your attention. You follow the sound curiosity, steering you toward a curious corner of the divine domain. There you find Athena, goddess of wisdom and warfare, but today she's not embroiled in strategy or studies of ancient scrolls. Instead, she's tinkering. In a modest workshop carved into the side of a golden hill, tools and contraptions lay scattered, their designs intricate and bewildering. Gears of all sizes, rods, metals, and curious objects of unknown origins lay in carefully organized chaos. She moves with precise purpose, hammering here, adjusting there, a figure of concentrated creation. You exhale softly, realizing how rare it is to see a deity so lost in such a thoroughly human activity. Her fingers dance deftly over her work, as if knitting together ideas into tangible form. Athena, the ever-practical, ever-patient strategist, finding joy not just in thoughts and abstruse magnitudes, but in the practical harmony of invention. How interdisciplinarily divine of her. You think surely a thought worth sharing during a human tea time discussion. As you watch, caught between admiration and awe, she looks up briefly and offers a serene smile. Even gods need hobbies, she says, with a twinkle of mischief in her eyes that's as timeless as her wisdom. And no, she adds, perhaps reading your thoughts, this isn't my attempt to invent the wheel. Your laughter echoes slightly in the divine tranquility of her workshop. Athena's love for tinkering, much like a hidden ingredient in a revered recipe, sheds light on her depth. In this whimsical curiosity, she stands attuned with the quiet joys of innovation, not unlike the ambiance found in a mortal's garage turned sanctuary of creation. Time, fluid as it is in Olympus, passes seamlessly here. The golden hues of the day deepen, casting a soft amber glow across Athena's realm. You realize, just like these gods and their hobbies, you too find peace in these small stolen moments, a juxtaposition of the grand and the gentle, the past and the present. As the sun sinks behind the horizon, painting the skies with shades of indigo and amber, you feel a gentle weightlessness overtaking you. The gods with their pastimes remind you that even amid the chaos, there lies an art in simply being. It's in the making, in the molding of moments that mortals and gods alike find purpose. Maybe tomorrow you too will tinker with something new. The laughter and the echoes of Athena's workshop, leaving a lingering melody in your mind, you turn to leave. Back along the starlit path you walk, feeling the cool stones underfoot. Only now they seem to hum with stories, untold adventures yet to be discovered. You take another breath of that impossibly fresh air, reflecting on the curious magnificence of the day. As you head towards the edge of consciousness, where dreams eagerly await, a sense of calm envelops you like a warm, reassuring embrace. As the world of gods begins to ebb away, you let this sensation gently roll over your body, knowing tomorrow holds new stories, wrapped in the mystery of Olympus's ageless beauty. As the visions of the gods and their haven become soft, dreamy impressions, you allow yourself to sink further into relaxation. The stars twinkle above like familiar companions as you feel yourself gently floating on the edge of sleep, Here, anticipation blends into peace, reminding you that in every small pursuit and hobby, essential to both divinity and humanity, lies a connection, a bridge between these realms, anchored in creativity and wonder. As you walk along the edge of a quietly flowing stream, the soft rustling of the reeds catches your attention. You exhale slowly, your shoulders relaxing as you take in this serene landscape. The gentle breeze brushes past, weaving its whispers through the tall, slender stalks. You pause for a moment to watch their graceful dance, and you can't help but smile at the thought of their light sway, almost as if they're performing just for you. You're following Athena, a curious and inventive spirit, known far and wide for her ingenuity and wisdom. She walks ahead of you, lost in thought, her fingers gently grazing the tips of the reeds as she passes by. You're here to witness one of her countless experiments, another step in her endless quest for knowledge. Historians still debate whether she intended to stumble upon this particular idea, but that's part of the mystique that makes every little discovery feel like a hidden gem. Athena comes to a halt and kneels by the water's edge. With an air of quiet excitement, she begins to gather a handful of reeds, carefully selecting those of varied lengths. These might just make the perfect sound she muses aloud, her voice soft and contemplative, much like the stream itself. You can't help but be swept up in her curiosity, wondering what melody she hears in her mind as she arranges them in her hands. Your mind wanders for a moment, recalling stories about ancient times when music was as much magic as it was melody. Did the first humans who created instruments feel this same thrill of discovery? You imagine them making sounds from the simplest of objects, perhaps out of necessity, or perhaps just to break the silence. You almost wonder why there weren't more accidental bands comprised solely of cereal containers and wooden spoons forming in ancient villages. As Athena lines up the reeds, she places one end to her lips and blows gently. The sound that emerges is soft, almost tentative, like a whisper carried through the wind. Her eyes light up, and she quickly adjusts the length of another reed, trying again. This time, the note is clearer, resonant, and melodic. Your heart swells a little at the sound, so natural, so serene, yet so full of potential. In your mind, you catalog this moment, one where simplicity gives birth to music. It's a comforting thought, knowing that deep in history, humans were just as intrigued by the powers of sound as we are today. You've heard the stories of how Pythagoras could tell the length of a string just by the sound of it. A party trick so advanced that you've always thought he should have joined a circus. Under the golden hues of the late afternoon sun, Athena continues to modify and experiment with the reeds, producing a variety of pitches and tones. Each sound, each note carries a story, a possibility. They drift across the water, creating ripples that gently disturb the stream's surface. There's a rhythm developing like the heartbeat of nature itself. As you listen, your mind wanders to the concept of music as a universal language. You ponder whether sometime far in the future, others might stumble upon an ancient instrument underwater, wondering how we ever made music structured and beautiful rather than just noise. And yet here, You recognize that beauty lies in its simplicity. Sometimes you think complexity is overrated. At some point, you realize you've become part of the scene, a character in this unfolding narrative of discovery. The sound of the reeds seems to resonate with something deep inside you, and you breathe in deeply the fragrance of damp grass and sunlight filling your senses. You feel a gentle pull of nostalgia, perhaps for a place you've never quite been, but recognize all the same a shared connection through time and sound. Athena glances back at you, her eyes twinkling with a silent, "Yes, can you believe this?" And you both share a quiet laugh. It's amazing how sometimes the smallest things can evoke the greatest wonder. The sight of Athena surrounded by reeds is so tranquil, so right, and you embrace this moment, capturing it like a cherished photograph in your heart. With the sun beginning its descent, casting longer shadows and rendering the world in a palette of deep oranges and purples, the music of the reeds continues. You realize humorously that there's something oddly satisfying about the thought of future bards crediting Athena as the first avant-garde composer, and wondering if those reeds went platinum in their time. Warmth and calm wash over you as you succumb to the evening's embrace. The sounds of nature fade slowly into the gentle hum of twilight, and the rhythmic music of your heart beats in time with the whispers of the stream. A peaceful stillness envelops you, signaling the time to retreat into the comforts of night, leaving the reeds swaying softly in the breeze just as they were when you arrived. Your hands move with careful precision as you select a few sturdy reeds from the cluster growing by the riverbank. The sunlight glints off the water, speckling the scene with warmth, as you feel the cool breeze brushing your skin, a gentle reminder of the ancient world enveloping you. The view of Olympus from this angle is overwhelmingly vast, but somehow comforting in its grandeur. You think to yourself, do the gods ever peek down to watch mortals like you fumble with everyday tasks? You find a comfortable spot beneath the shade of a large oak tree, its leaves rustling softly above you, as if reminding you that nature herself is your closest companion. With a small yet determined smile, you begin carving small holes into the reeds. Historians still debate whether the first flute was truly made this way, but your determination is unwavering as you imagine the sound of music cresting over the fields. The first note comes unexpectedly, a gentle yet startling melody that flows out like a whisper on the breeze. It startles Olympus, or at least you entertain the thought that somewhere in those divine realms, a god might be raising an eyebrow, bemused by a mortal's bold ingenuity. You chuckle softly to yourself, thinking about how history, always so serious and grand, might have overlooked this simple, whimsical moment. After all, who could imagine that a mere bundle of hollow reeds could catch the attention of the heavens? Perhaps that's one of life's little surprises, like when you remember that Plato once thought Atlantis was a real place. Eye roll. The note lingers in the air, transforming the riverbank into a space of enchantment. You can almost hear the gentle applause of leaves and the soft murmur of the brook, as if they have been waiting for this very moment to announce the dawn of music. It fills you with a sense of accomplishment and wonder. As you practice more, each note becomes more confident, adding layers to the song of nature around you. You imagine how this simple instrument might become a vessel for stories, legends, and dreams, a way for people who lived thousands of years ago to connect with those who will live thousands of years in the future. You wonder if perhaps they ever thought their efforts could echo into the vast expanse of time. A young shepherd wanders nearby, leading his flock across the fields. His eyes widen in surprise. At the sound, his look of disbelief turning into a playful grin. What magic is this, he calls out, casting a glance at your creation. Just some reeds and a bit of luck, you reply, laughter sneaking into your voice. It's rare to stumble upon such delight in these simple acts of creation, and you savor the moment. The shepherd nods appreciatively, and you get the sense that he's grateful for this unexpected intermission in his routine. It's funny how a random encounter can weave itself into your memories like this. Stories layered upon stories carried on the gentle breath of a flute. With each lingering note, you feel your surroundings become a living portrait of the ancient world. The rich scent of earth beneath you, the distant rumblings of history waiting to be written. And as you exhale slowly, you realize that you've captured something more than music. You've found a thread that connects your small corner of the world with the mythic reverberations of Olympus. As you play, you reflect on how overwhelming it is that innovations often start from someone taking a leap of faith, much like you did with these reeds today. You think about how the simplest of ideas can cascade into something that changes the course of history. It's a curious thing, creativity, and you muse quietly about how such subtle origins can be so monumental. This could be your legacy, a thought that sends a shiver of excitement and humility through you. Your fingers gently caress the instrument, feeling the smoothness of the reeds, the texture, a reminder of both nature's simplicity and complexity. You lean back against the sturdy oak, glancing up at the sky, wondering whether this echo of music will rise up high enough to reach Olympus. Another breath, another note flows out effortlessly. You begin to understand that this task, so seemingly insignificant, might hold more significance than carving holes and blowing air. You are etching harmonies into the very fabric of time, leaving a mark like those left by countless others whose legacies are remembered both faintly and vividly, like distant echoes weaving through the annals of history. You smile as the tune carries onward, weaving its way through the tapestry of time, a story told not in words, but in the gentle, beautiful language of the flute. Perhaps this is how you will find your place in history, as one who knew how to bring the inevitable surprise and delight to the curious ear, even if it startled the divine residents of Olympus. Athena's laughter mingles with the soft babble of the stream. Beside you, a silver ribbon weaving through the grassy landscape. You find yourself immersed in this gentle moment, feeling the cool earth underfoot and the slight breeze that sways the trees around you. The air is fresh, filled with the comforting scent of water and greenery. Nearby, the ancient sounds of nature compose a timeless symphony. Birds chirp softly in the branches above, while a distant woodpecker drums on a tree, adding a playful percussion to the scene. You can almost imagine a tiny fairy orchestra, hiding among the leaves, conducting this serene piece. Athena crouches by the water's edge, her eyes wide with delight. As she leans forward, her reflection appears in the gentle ripples, cheeks puffed out in an amusing attempt to mimic a fish. You can't help but smile. It's the kind of moment that feels both timeless and fleeting, like the reflection itself shifting and shimmering in the stream. "Do you think there were mermaids here?" she asks, with a mischievous glint in her eyes, dipping her fingers into the water. You chuckle softly, considering her question with all due seriousness. After all, who are we to dismiss the fanciful historians still debate whether seafaring tales of ancient cultures were inspired by real creatures or just vivid imaginations? Mariners of old, faced with endless stretches of water and sky, may have conjured such beings from wishful thinking or sheer loneliness. You decide to join in the fun. "Entirely possible," you reply, feigning astonishment. Just imagine maybe Cicero himself wrote a lost dialogue on mermaid diplomacy. You might be sitting on a historic site right now. Athena giggles, enjoying the whimsy of it all. As the laughter fades, you both sit quietly for a moment, watching the water dance over smooth stones. The stream here has likely carved this path for centuries, a silent witness to countless stories and histories. Perhaps ancient Romans lingered by similar streams, pondering questions of philosophy and nature, much like you are now. You wonder if they ever felt the tug of similar idle curiosity, or shared in this same simple pleasure. The sunlight filters through willow branches, casting a dappled patchwork of light and shadow on the ground. It's a perfect spot for daydreaming, for allowing the weight of the world to slip away. You feel a deep sense of calm settle over you, the kind that only comes in such stolen moments of tranquility. You lean back against a sturdy tree and let out a contented sigh, wishing you could bottle this peace and carry it wherever you go. Athena remains captivated by her reflection, puffing her cheeks and stretching her lips into exaggerated shapes. "Does my face always look this strange?" she asks, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. You assure her that reflections can sometimes play tricks, much like those found in old stories of enchanted mirrors and mischievous spirits. It's a good reminder, even as adults who often fancy themselves as serious, rational creatures, we can still find magic around us if we're open to it. The historical records might not mention impromptu reflections by the stream or fanciful tales, but such moments surely colored the lives of those past, just as much as wars and politics did. You remember how the philosopher Heraclitus once noted that you never step in the same river, twice a thought that resonates deeply here. In the same way, Athena's reflections shift, with each movement of the stream echoing the idea that nothing is static. Everything is in a gentle, continuous flow. Will we ever come back here? Athena asks, her voice drifting above the stream's whisper. Her gaze remains fixed on the ripples and the ever-changing face within them, appearing curious to see something she might miss if she blinks. There's a hint of poignancy in her question, one that tugs softly at your heart. You reassure her that the world is full of hidden streams waiting to be discovered. Much like life's currents, there's always a new adventure or mystery just around the bend, even if the exact moment can't be replicated. As time drifts by, the air grows cooler, and the light begins to take on the warmer hues of late afternoon. The ground beneath you feels comforting, the little blades of grass soft under your fingers. It's the perfect cushion for a leisurely escape from reality. In the distance, the call of a wandering bird acts as a reminder of time's silent march. Yet here by the stream, all sense of urgency feels absent, replaced by the gentle rhythms of nature. Athena stands up, brushing off her skirts as small bits of grass fall away. Ready to head back, you ask, even though you secretly wish the answer could be no, that you could linger just a little longer. She nods, giving one last look at the playful stream, and then her reflection disappears with a ripple. Together you walk back along the familiar path, moss muffling your footsteps. The possibility of mermaids, ancient philosophers, and magic teasing at the edges of your thoughts. And though the journey continues, a piece of this peaceful afternoon, and its stories remain with you tucked away like a precious secret. You find yourself standing in the midst of an ancient Greek city. The air is warm and carries the faint scent of olives and sun-baked stone. It's evening, and the sky transitions from a vibrant blue to darker shades, with stars beginning to twinkle in anticipation of the night. The agora buzzes gently as merchants begin to pack up their stalls, their voices a soft murmur in the distance. Underfoot, the cobblestones are uneven, worn smooth by generations of footsteps. In this city live two powerful goddesses, polar opposites in many ways. On one hand was Aphrodite, whose beauty was known far and wide, capturing the admiration and envy of gods and mortals alike. Then there was Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, who had little interest in beauty. She's not exactly the type to spend hours in front of a mirror, you'd think. Instead, her focus lay on strategy knowledge, and perhaps the occasional weaving contest, because even goddesses need hobbies right. Yet for Athena, the sting of being mocked was something else altogether. If you've ever had a teacher stare at you over their glasses after asking an obvious question, you might relate, albeit ever so slightly, to Athena's displeasure with ridicule. Athena is a curious figure of paradox. While she could be fierce in battle and relentless in a debate, she was also deeply respected for her fairness and wisdom. So naturally, when a mortal dared to mock her, it was bound to end in an unexpected lesson. Historians still debate whether Athena's infamous weaving contest with Arachne involved divine intervention from the start. But it's widely agreed that Athena took great offense to Arachne's boastful degree of self-confidence. Arachne, known throughout the land, not just for her skill with the loom, but for an ego that could rival Mount Olympus itself, claimed her weaving was unmatched by any mortal or even a god. A small laugh escapes your lips at the thought Arachne standing before her, weaving smug as an overfed cat, bragging about catching a mouse. If only she had known what was coming. Athena, veiled in the guise of an old woman, approached Arachne with a gentle suggestion. Perhaps it would be wise to give thanks to the gods for your gift, the disguised goddess said, her voice crackling like dry leaves. A suggestion Arachne promptly dismissed with a wave of her hand. The looming challenge between goddess and mortal was set. You imagine yourself there, sitting under an olive tree, watching as an audience gathers, whispering anticipation, humming like bees around the contest. Arachne's fingers moved swiftly, her threads forming vibrant images almost faster than your eyes could follow. And yet there's Athena, calm and composed, every movement deliberate. Legend says Athena wove scenes of great beauty and lessons of humility, stories of humans and gods of hubris, met with consequence. Meanwhile, Arachne boldly depicted the gods' indiscretions. Maybe a little too wittily, like that time you too boldly presented a sarcastic comment to someone who clearly did not appreciate your humor. You feel a slight sympathy for Arachne's impending predicament. Just as the warmth of the evening shifts with a cool breeze, so too does the atmosphere around the loom change. Athena steps forward, her eyes surveying the weave. You hold your breath, knowing the balance between criticism and catastrophe is paper thin. With a calm yet unfaltering voice, Athena pronounces her judgment. And in that instant, Arachne's face falls, realizing the weight of her own pride. Gently, Athena transforms Arachne into the first spider, forever weaving a delicate completion to a hubris that reached too high. You exhale slowly, the lesson sinking into you as the night deepens. As the city of Athens softens under the moonlight, your thoughts drift. You can see why Athena preferred the calm of logic and craftsmanship over the chaos beauty can invite. Her city named after her because she offered them the olive tree, a symbol of peace and prosperity, stands as a testament to virtues that age with time rather than fade like beauty often does. Walking away from the loom and the spectating crowd, you sense the warmth of an autumn night, enveloping you as if the past itself rests content in its place. Your feet lead you back across the cobblestones, each step grounding you in the world's ancient stories. As the night deepens, you hear the soft hum of insects and feel the whisper of a gentle breeze against your skin, much like Athena's soft whispered victory in humility and wisdom. Wisdom walks beside you like an old friend, reminding you that even at bedtime, there's a lesson to carry into dreams. With a gentle smile, you find peace, knowing that like Athena, you needn't worry about the frivolity of beauty. After all, as the story has shown, wisdom has a subtle beauty of its own, one that can weave tales across generations. As you stand on the riverbank, you feel the weight of history mingling with the moist, earthy air. The water swirls before you, carrying with it whispers of 1,000 stories it has known before your time. In your hand is a flute, not just any flute, but a relic carved from the bones of long-gone creatures. The craftsmanship is intricate. Each note it plays seems to summon voices from the past. Despite its allure, its very existence feels wrong, like holding a key to a door that should remain closed. You glimpse your reflection, distorted in the water's gentle ripples, and a thought crosses your mind. What would they say if they knew this still existed? Your fingers tighten around the flute's shaft, and the weight of its history grows unbearable. Would those ancient artisans, tinkering in dimly lit workshops, imagine their creation would one day lead to such a moment? You wonder if it was a mistake to have brought it here. Perhaps it wasn't meant to survive this long, outliving its time. An internal debate ensues, one that seems as timeless as the river itself. Funny you think how humanity treasures what it cannot replace, yet sometimes must be brave enough to let it go. The decision comes quickly after a lingering glance at the flute. A swing of your arm, a brief soar through the air, and it disappears into the river claimed by the waters with nary a splash. Dignity wins out over invention, just as it should in a world that often loses itself in mere survival. Historians still debate the exact origins of such flutes you remember. Did they truly enchant oracles into telling the future? Or were they simple musical instruments, cherished for their clear, haunting tones? Regardless, the truth succumbs to the realm of forgotten dreams, as dreams are wont to do when left unguarded in the shadows of consciousness. Standing there, you can't help but smile at the irony. Even in its demise, the flute remains as enigmatic as ever. Perhaps some curious soul will rediscover it centuries from now, puzzling over its story under an entirely different sky. The river gurgles softly like an old storyteller, chuckling at a secret it has sworn to keep. You let out a breath as the tension eases from your shoulders. There is a calm acceptance in your heart, an understanding that even stories must end, leaving room for those yet untold. Once more, your gaze meets the river, its surface a mirror reflecting both past and present. You consider the long line of people before you, who have stood at different rivers making different decisions, but sharing the same reverence for history's weight. It amuses you to no end that, with all the grandeur of time, something as simple as gravity helps reset the balance. You look around the lush overhang of the trees, the ancient stones peppering the shoreline like forgotten sentinels of time. It's a scene straight out of a historical painting, though you doubt such beauty could be truly captured on canvas. A breeze rustles the leaves, their whispers reminiscent of idle court gossip from long-dead kingdoms. It reminds you of a tale you once heard about a medieval queen who threw away her crown for love. It's not an exact parallel, no doubt, but the thought strikes a chord within you. After all, what are stories if not reflections of choices made? Decisions where the heart, against all odds, guided hands to actions that history has deemed worthy of remembering. As the sun dips lower on the horizon, casting a golden hue on everything it touches, you know it is time to leave. Yet there is no rush. Time stretches languidly here by the river, coaxed out by the serene beauty around you. You savor the moment, allowing it to seep into your bones, a personal treasure of the myriad experiences you've gathered along the way. After a final glance at the river, you turn and begin walking back, the soft ground comfortably giving way underfoot. With each step, The sound of the river fades slightly, urging you to make peace with letting go and embracing the mysteries that lie ahead. As your journey away from the water continues, a gentle laugh escapes your lips. Of all the questions that you've pondered at this river's edge, one remains forever unanswered. How many adventures begin with discarding the past to face the unknown? Curiosity washes over you as you wander through the dense and fragrant woodland, the dappled sunlight casting playful patterns on the forest floor. You stop suddenly, your keen eyes catching a glint of gold nestled amid the fallen leaves, and your heart skips a beat with a mixture of caution and intrigue. It's not every day you stumble upon something like this, and as you lean down, brushing aside the foliage, you see a finely crafted flute. Bits of mud cling to its surface, yet even the grime can't mask the flute's elegance. You can't help but cock an eyebrow. Well, isn't this a find? You murmur to yourself, picturing the face of the musician who must have owned it. Your mind dances through images of delicate fingers, playing melancholic tunes under the moonlight until perhaps Apollo himself decided it wasn't quite up to his godly standards. Losing a flute isn't the sort of thing you picture happening to a deity every day. But stranger things have occurred, like accidentally catching your foot on one of those ominous root mazes, or feeling a raindrop in your ear in open sunlight. You're a naturally inquisitive satyr, and as you lift the instrument, turning it over in your hand, a thought floats across your mind. Why not give it a try? Your fingers, though more accustomed to wild flutes made from reeds by the river, find their place upon the instrument's smooth surface with surprising intuition. You raise it tentatively to your lips, pausing for breath. Could you be on a path to echoing the melodies of renowned musicians, or is that just a little whimsical thinking? The first note you play is hesitant, a wispy tune that spirals into the trees, melding with the gentle rustling of leaves. The sound startles you slightly, rich and sonorous, unlike anything you've heard before. Encouraged by your unlikely success, you play another note, then another. Soon a melody weaves through the air as light as the breeze caressing your fur. It's a sound of simple joy, and with it, your initial trepidation evaporates like dew under the morning sun. The birds perched and vigilant seem to tilt their heads in appreciation, perhaps mistaking these sweet tunes as some new woodland symphony composed for their pleasure. You marvel at how music can alter the air around you, softening it, turning it magical. In your practice, you might momentarily think of Marsyas, the once benevolent satyr, who, according to legend, dared to challenge Apollo with his musical prowess. It's said he was discovered in a similar vein, picking up a cast-out instrument and bridging the gap between mortal and divine through sound. Some historians argue the location of this fable lay by a river, now gone swept away by time and nature, while others swear by a distant mountain plateau. But the spirit of Marsyas lingers no matter the geography, reminding you that music is as eternal as the stars. Your fingers learn to dance expertly over the flute as you engage in a careful balancing act joy against the vigilance of an otherworldly audience. There's a light sarcasm to it all, perhaps a satyr playing a god's flute, yet feeling like the world's serenest creature standing amidst nature's finest stage. You chuckle softly at the irony. Would Marsyas himself compliment your audacity? Careful now you quip to a watchful squirrel before I suddenly become the best musician in all the forest. We'd never hear the end of it. The afternoon stretches lazily, shadows lengthening, yet you're caught in the thrall of the flute's enchantment. Every tone feels like a step into a hypnotic rhythm of creativity that has tugged musicians since ancient times. You lose track of your surroundings, swaying gently like a reed in the breeze. There's an odd peace in this act, an understanding that trickles in like morning light through closed blinds, a reminder that life's discoveries are often buried underfoot, waiting for the curious or the clumsy to stumble across them. Perhaps you wonder if Marsyas felt invincible stepping into his challenge, or if fear somehow mingled with his hope, an indistinguishable harmony. But now, as dusk begins to drape its cool veil over the woodland, you find solace in your solitude, shared only with the trees and the whispering winds. Each note is a whisper of history, a breath of stories untold, carried on a humble tune. You finally lower the flute, and with a contented sigh, lean against a gnarled oak, letting its ancient wisdom seep into your bones. You watch as the final rays of sunlight retreat, surrendering the world to twilight. You'll return to the flute again. You decide to explore its sounds further. This old instrument has more secrets to share, and you, with gentle perseverance and a touch of mischief, are keen to listen. For now, though, you rest your eyes, embracing the earthy aroma of the forest, a place where time seems to stretch and dreams weave the fabric of nights, just as Marsyas might have imagined. The flute remains beside you, and as the ethereal realm of sleep pulls you close, its notes echo softly in the recesses of your mind, serenading you into peaceful slumber. And to his delight, music poured forth. You stand in a clearing surrounded by towering oaks and whispering pines. The night air holds its breath as if anticipating this extraordinary occurrence. From the small handmade flute in your hands, an enchanting melody spills out, rich and fluid. The music seems to breathe life into the night, as if every note carried a secret of its own. The animals around you pause in their nightly routines. Rabbits caught mid-hop. A family of deer freeze their ears pricked. Even the cool breeze decides to halt its journey to listen. It's almost as if you're the conductor of a secret symphony where nature itself is your audience. Historians still debate whether ancient peoples used music simply for enjoyment, or if it was a mystical force believed to influence the world around them. In this moment, you could very well believe the latter. You glance around the vibrant scene. Moonlight filters through the canopy, dappling the ground in patches of silvery light. It tickles your imagination. How many secrets have these woods held over the centuries? Perhaps they've seen other musicians play by moonlight, their rhythms echoing up to the stars. Maybe your own music is just a faint echo of some forgotten primal beat. As the notes weave their spell, the ancient trees sway ever so gently. You wonder if they are sharing nods of approval. After all, they've been listening to the world for eons. The debate continues among scholars about whether plants can truly hear or just respond to vibrations. But here, under the attentive gaze of the moon, it doesn't matter much. The trees seem like the wisest of benevolent beings, and tonight they are your biggest fans. Just when you think you've never been in a silence so alive, you feel the soft tickle of a squirrel scampering up a nearby trunk. He pauses boxwood-sized ears twitching. Does he have a request? You think with a smirk, imagining a small chorus chiming in at his behest. In an unusually light moment, a voice, a calming, lilting tone, calls softly drifting through the air like the music itself. An elder from the nearby village appears between the shadows of the trees, face creased into a tapestry of stories and wrinkles. You play well, he says in an accent laden with the wisdom of countless years. His voice has the comforting crackle of a fire you've watched burn low on cold nights. Did you know the elder begins as elders are apt to do, that there was a time when music couldn't be parted from myth? Tunes moved beyond mere sound. They could summon rain or strengthen bonds. His words carry you back, drawing you into the stories he knows. You suddenly feel small among the mighty trees, as if standing at the edge of an ocean of history. You nod, imagining ancient shamans invoking elements or traveling to other realms, perhaps much like this mysterious elder, who by now seems more an ancient spirit than a mere mortal. The elder continues with a soft chuckle, though I'm not sure the trees need to pick up their roots and dance tonight. There's a sly glint in his eyes, playfully suggesting everything and nothing at once. Even if it's only to the music of squirrels you suggest with a half smile. He laughs a sound like the rustling of leaves. Precisely. His face turns towards the stars momentarily, as if downloading the cosmos into his eyes. Every note carries a story, and you seem to have a knack for conjuring them. As the gentle melody fades into the night's embrace, you slowly lower your flute. There's an enchanting stillness now, as if every element of nature joins you in taking a collective breath. You find your shoulders relaxing the night's chill, dissolving against their comforting warmth. Nearby, a lone owl calls, hooting a soft lullaby, echoing back your own footnote on tonight's musical script. You exhale with it a sigh that blends shared appreciation with the feeling of being tethered to infinite moments that have been and will be. Suddenly the elder turns, melding effortlessly into the shadows, becoming one with the ageless woodland landscape. Remember, his voice drifts back, a soft whisper that seems to tickle your ears with the gentlest of symphonies. The forests never forget a good tune. As his words settle, you notice a lovely serene unfolding within you. The stories, the music, the starlit audience, they wrap gently around you like a blanket spun from moonbeams. In this mystical clearing, it becomes clear. Sometimes history is not written in dusty tomes, but in sounds that harmonize with the winds and the whispers that carry the score of ages. You let your gaze linger on the moonlit path, each step a new note in the night's symphony. As you begin the slow journey homeward, feeling the gentle tug of peace cradle you closer to the dream world, awaiting your arrival Apollo has always been the talk of Olympus, and tonight you find yourself wandering the divine halls of his domain. The air up here is different, crisp, and filled with mystery, like a well-kept secret whispered by the wind. Oddly enough, you don't feel out of place amidst these celestial surroundings. It's quite cozy. But before you succumb to the allure of divinity's embrace, there's something that tugs at the edges of your consciousness. A rumor faint yet persistent, like an eavesdropper, hiding just out of sight. It's about a new sound, something that's shaking the heavens and reaching Apollo's ears. You picture him, the god of music and poetry, sprawled leisurely with his golden lyre close by. Yet there's a subtle tension in the way he holds it tonight, fingers tight around the strings. Always the epitome of composure. This time, he seems more affronted than entertained. You might not be able to hear this new sound yourself, being merely mortal and all, but you can almost see it reflected in Apollo's watchful gaze. A melody bold and brash, echoing through the divine hallways of arts and muses. Historians still debate whether it was truly music or just an impostor, masquerading as such, an unsanctioned tune challenging the status quo. The thought of it makes you smile. Some say it was the birth of rock and roll. Others insist it was jazz incarnate. Regardless, it's causing quite a commotion. Digital whispers echo that this isn't the first time Apollo's authority as the arbiter of sound has been questioned. Long ago, a certain mortal musician named Marsyas dared to play a melody so sweet and wild that even the rivers pause to listen. You exhale, slowly caught in the layers of sound and experience. Every note an untold story in time's symphony. As you gaze over Apollo's realm, you notice the way daylight filters through the intricately woven clouds, casting golden patterns on the marble floors. It's enough to make anyone feel almost divine. Yet Apollo, with a quizzical tilt of his head, seems less interested in the beauty around him. You wonder if the burden of perfection ever weighs down on a god, although it's probably not polite to ask during such a tumultuous time. A slight breeze rustles through, carrying with it the faintest murmur from the mortal world. It's here that you sense Apollo's discomfort stems not just from mere annoyance. This new sound, whatever form it takes, is a sign of change, the most dreaded tune to play in his carefully orchestrated world. He shifts slightly on his celestial seat, his movements as fluid and graceful as the music he once championed. Dry humor tickles your thoughts. Who would have predicted the god of music finding his own heavenly playlist so rudely interrupted? There's something oddly comforting about witnessing a god's disgruntlement over human creativity. It's a reminder that even Olympus isn't immune to the chaos that accompanies innovation. The playful hint of rebellion in you can't help but feel a twinge of admiration for those who dared to strum their chords in new rhythms, challenging the divine. Perhaps it wasn't the sound itself that perturbed Apollo, but the defiance it symbolized. Human creativity untamed, echoing with undisciplined enthusiasm, and a zest for unpredictability. You imagine Apollo listening, perhaps the corners of his mouth twitching upwards in reluctant approval. As you stand there, a small shadow flickers across the marble expanse, a bird, perhaps Apollo's own messenger coming to shed some light on the curious situation. It alights near you, cocking its head curiously, as if questioning your unauthorized attendance at this divine gathering. Are you enjoying the show? It seems to ask, eyes gleaming with the knowing wisdom only found in birds who've listened through the ages. You nod silently, suddenly aware that you're just a spectator in a realm where the music of the universe is created and critiqued endlessly. The bird flutters off its departure, a silent elegy that leaves the slightest buzz of amusement in its wake. The crowd in Apollo's mind begins to quiet as he tunes his lyre finely, fingers moving with deliberate intention, a reminder to himself, perhaps as much as to anyone else, of his mastery over all things harmonic. You can almost hear him muttering a soft tune, born from tradition, soothing the realm back into order. Feeling welcomed yet insignificant, your thoughts dance with the sounds and wind around you. This new melody might just be the beginning of yet another story, one that, like a beautiful lullaby, is waiting to unfurl in the soft whispers of the night. As Apollo once more lifts his voice to guide Olympus into harmonious rest, your eyelids grow heavy, lulled by the gentle cadence of celestial music echoing softly above and within. You find yourself in a mystical land where the sky seems to shimmer with the iridescent glow of myths and legends long told. You walk beneath towering trees whose leaves whisper secrets of the past, their dark green canopies and endless twilight above. Tonight you're drawn towards a gathering in a forest meadow, a natural amphitheater where stories become reality. Here in this dreamlike setting, the air buzzes with anticipation. Apollo, the god of music and prophecy, stands poised with his shimmering lyre, its strings taut with potential magic. Across from him, Marsyas, a satyr, with a defiant grin, clutches his adored Olos. You might chuckle at the audacity of a satyr challenging a god, but that's Marsyas for you. Confidence wrapped loosely with a little too much bravado. The Muses, those divine judging nine, settle quietly on a grassy rise. Their robes, shimmering with soft blues and silvers, catch faint light, as if spun from moonbeams. Historians still debate whether they preferred their divine forms or more humble appearances when presiding over such contests. Regardless, their presence alone could make or break legends. You take a deep breath, feeling the coolness of the evening air fill your lungs, mingling with the scent of earth and wild flowers. A soft breeze carries shivery notes of anticipation, teasing the stillness and turning your gaze towards the musicians. It is here the duel begins. Apollo, his fingers delicate upon the strings, strums a melody so pure and resonant that it seems to weave itself into the very fabric of the night. Each note tells a story, a serene lullaby layered with the tranquil hum of lullabies, speaking of sunlight dancing across waters and the soft susurrus of temple hymns. Marsyas steps forward in response, his aulos cradled as if it might at any moment unfurl wings and take flight. Despite the odds, he grins and lets loose a melody of his own, a wild, unbridled tune echoing the winds that race through mountain passes lush with the raw energy you might find on a spring morning after a long winter. Here you wonder, perhaps being a bit of an underdog, could work in his favor. After all, music is nothing if not full of surprises. A murmur ripples through the crowd. A mix of woodland creatures and ethereal beings come to witness this immortal clash. As you listen, you can't help but notice that the music lifts you physically, almost as if replacing gravity itself with something softer, something spiritually buoyant. You feel your fingers twitch to the unheard beat, your spirit dancing, even though your feet remain planted. The Muses, while silent, seem to take on an aspect of thoughtful contemplation. But whether they sway more towards Apollo's disciplined grace or Marsyas's sprightly spontaneity, you cannot yet tell. Perhaps they're deciding within themselves, line by line, note by note. A small voice chimes next to you, a nymph, perhaps her eyes sparkling and brows crinkled playfully. I bet they didn't see this coming. A satyr with an ego larger than a god's. You smile, the tension easing with humor's gentle touch. Apollo finishes his piece with a flourish, the final chord, ringing in a cathedral silence that stretches thin across the meadow. Marsyas undeterred counters with a crescendo, his melody cascading like waterfalls, lifting and dipping with each heart-stopping moment. Historians, as you might expect, debate the specifics of what happens next. Some suggest Marsyas added a twist, a daring improvisation that could either win the Muses' favor or seal his fate. Others whisper of tricks and hidden harmonies, each whisper as thick with speculation as the legends themselves. Still, you find yourself wondering if Marsyas's laugh was one of triumph or the last exhalation of hope before the silence returned once more. In the quiet aftermath of those final notes, the world seems to hold its breath. The ethereal judges exchange glances, a symphony of expressions, from thoughtful to sardonic, as the weight of their decision lodges itself into the narrative's heart. The Muses, wise as they are, begin to huddle their forms, weaving and whispering amongst themselves, as if the gentle breeze carried their thoughts, like a river carries leaves. Whether their judgment will bear Apollo as the favored, or Marsyas as the brave, you find yourself leaning slowly forward, your anticipation piqued. For a moment it crosses your mind how this contest, seen even from Olympian heights, is less about victor and vanquished. It's about the music that stitches the stars to the sky, that tethers this timeless meadow to your present heartbeats. And perhaps in the dream-like serenity of the forest, the true judge of this duel is neither mortal nor divine, but time itself. In the growing dusk, with a wink seemingly shared between nature and myth, you take solace in the fact that even the most discordant notes can form the melody of a story worth knowing. You exhale, letting the tension of the duel unravel like a ribbon in the wind, feeling as if you've been part of something ancient, something unending. Marsyas always thought he had a knack for music, and who could blame him? As a satyr, you have an innate connection to nature. Every rustling leaf, every babbling brook, it's like an eternal symphony that plays just for you. So when you first heard the tale of Marsyas challenging the great god Apollo to a musical duel, you couldn't help but admire his audacity. I mean going toe-to-toe with the literal god of music. That's like challenging your grandma to a pie baking contest with just a toaster oven and a dream. You probably won't survive this, but hey, a little confidence never hurt anyone, right? Speaking of which, as you wander through the dense, fragrant forest of Phrygia, you can almost see Marsyas standing beneath the towering pines, his impish grin as wild as his curly hair. You've seen the sun-dappled leaves dance in the breeze like emerald confetti, and felt the earth beneath your feet silent yet full of stories. Maybe that's where Marsyas practiced his flute playing, trying to coax the very essence of the forest into his melodies. Rumor has it that Marsyas found a flute that originally belonged to Athena. Yes, the Athena goddess of wisdom and war. She'd tossed it aside, tired of puffing out her cheeks in such an undignified manner. Marsyas, however, saw the flute not as a discarded tool, but as an opportunity, a golden ticket to fame, or infamy as luck would have it. You glance around, half expecting Marsyas himself to leap out from behind a tree, brandishing his flute like a challenge. In the stillness, you can all but hear the whisper of notes meant to rival the songs of gods. Historians still debate whether it was folly or fate that led Marsyas to approach Apollo. But one thing's for sure, when he flipped the flute trying to mimic Apollo's lyre, he flipped more than just an instrument. He flipped destiny. Now imagine this Apollo golden and towering like a beacon of divine arrogance, watching as Marsyas performs. The satyr's fingers dance over the flute notes, flowing like streams in spring. Your heart beats a little faster, matching the tempo of a song as old as myth itself. And then Apollo, ever the showman, demonstrates his own technique, turning his lyre and plucking the strings with a casual ease. The crowd creatures of myth and legend all fall silent to listen. Meanwhile, you can't help but wonder if Marsyas knew that this cunning demonstration would shift the challenge entirely. Just like forgetting to check the expiration date on that ancient Greek yogurt, Marsyas' mistake was about to catch up with him in a way that no one quite expected. You exhale slowly, the sound of the forest, a gentle reminder of the passage of time, both infinite and fleeting. Despite the tension, the air is thick with the scent of pine, the kind that clears your mind and fills your lungs with a sense of quiet bravery. You lean back against the cool bark of a tree, letting the whispered tales of those who walked this path before wash over you. And then, like the echo of history itself, you hear a soft chuckle carried on the breeze. Not malicious, just amused, as if the very woods remember the youthful arrogance of a satyr who dared to dream as wildly as he played. Marsyas flipped the flute, mimicking Apollo's effortless style. And that simple act, more than any song, sealed his fate. His trial was over before it even began, much like when you confidently take a board game out of the box only to realize you've read the rules completely wrong. As you listen, the forest seems to hum with an energy both solemn and celebratory, a tribute to a tale that's been spun into the fabric of time. Although the outcome was grim, you can't help but admire Marsyas' audacity. It's a dangerous kind of courage, the sort that challenges the sun and expects not to get burned. So here you stand alone in a sea of trees, yet surrounded by voices from the past. You let your eyes close, the weight of centuries settling softly upon your shoulders like a comforting blanket. In this place between reality and dream, you find a connection to a story that's both ancient and astoundingly present. And as you drift between worlds, you realize something. It's not always about winning the game. Sometimes it's about having the courage to play at all. Apollo's grand amphitheater sprawls before you alive, with expectant whispers and the quiet rustling of linen garments. It's a sun-drenched morning in ancient Greece, where the dust hangs lightly in the golden air, turning, as you do, to capture fleeting glimmers on the marble steps. You feel the warmth of the stone beneath you, a comforting reminder that some things remain solid even as the world around them is in perpetual competition. Today, the gods themselves have issued a challenge, a contest of artistry, wit, and inspiration. You can almost hear Zeus chuckling somewhere atop Mount Olympus, amused by the bit of divine mischief he's set in motion. Each divine and mortal contestant is poised, instruments in hand or voices at the ready, each crafting a story or song meant to transcend the mundane, a fantasy you might only just glimpse from the corner of your eye. Apollo, radiant in his polished chariot of light, stands with a self-assured glimmer in his eye, an expression suited to the god of music, truth, and prophecy. As you draw closer, you note his gilded laurels catching the sun, casting shifting shadows that play tricks on the ground. You marvel at how he seems born out of sunlight itself. With a flick of his hand, the contest begins. Nearby, you overhear an elder muse murmur about past rumors, how once the laurel tree became sacred to Apollo, after a pursuit that historians argue had less to do with divine love than divine stubbornness. But who's keeping score? Either way, it's a funny juxtaposition that the one who chased it all those eons ago is the same who now orchestrates this stately challenge. The contest precedes a medley of sound and sight, a colorful chaos somehow tamed into rhythmic harmony. Fingers dance over lyres and fluted notes swirl like the morning breeze around you, carrying whispers of legends older than any here. A voice raises its tone, rich and mellow, singing verses that speak of courage and folly in equal measure. You feel an involuntary smile tugging at the corners of your lips, even as the song turns tragic, and the faintest trace of pride fades like so much morning mist. It's in this orchestra of effort that you notice Apollo, the curve of his smile, as he watches the contenders, and you sense there's more to his appraisal than meets the eye. He has that look a teacher adopts, knowing full well he holds the answer key, yet delighting in the student's attempts. There's a glint of mischief behind his calculated demeanor, a whispering hint of a plan. As one performer rises to poetic glory, the air grows thick with anticipation, expectation bubbling beneath the surface. You can almost taste the ambition sparking like lightning. But just when it seems one contestant might claim the laurels, Apollo holds up a hand, his voice smooth as rolling waves calls for calm. A new rule. He declares his tone both gentle and commanding. Creativity, after all, flourishes best within boundaries. You blink, taken aback, seeing through the twist to a whimsical intention that feels all too familiar in the tales of gods. His plan to prolong the spectacle, to expand the horizon. of what can be dreamed and dared. Yet this divine recalibration isn't met without protest. An earthy hum of discontent ripples through the arena gas one might expect from being told. The rules of a beloved game have abruptly changed mid-play. There's an irony in it all you think being expected to create with false freedom, a wondrous illusion built on shifting sand. Beside you, a young bard lowers his flute, murmuring, with that resigned yet hopeful bounce only the truly optimistic possess. Why should the gods have all the fun? We've voices of our own, after all, he quips, though there's a glint of admiration for the flamboyant divinity before him. You can't help but chuckle quietly to yourself at the sight of these skilled individuals, grappling with godly logic, mulling over new strategies, as Apollo watches with an enigmatic smile. Historians, never ones to shy away from a good debate, might puzzle over the implications of such divine bias and meddling. Yet here in this moment it reads as a strangely comforting reminder that even gods have whims. The morning lengthens into afternoon. One by one, the contestants rise to the refurbished rules, their performances taking bold, unpredictable turns. You watch enraptured as the stories spill rich and unexpected, buoyed by the pressures of necessity turned inspiration. Yet as the sun begins its languorous descent beyond distant hills, bruised pride starts to cast a faint shadow. You see it on faces that walked in with confident certainty, now tinged with a light frown or a slump of shoulders, acknowledging the challenge. The humility of attempting to dance under new rules fashioned mid-song. Despite it all, laughter bubbles at the edges of the event, a healer's balm for bruised egos. Somewhere just above the swell of jubilant voices, Pegasus flits by, tail a gale of white jewels, perhaps also eager to partake in the spectacle. As the contest closes, you take a deep breath, attuning once more to the rhythmic hum of life that slips back to normalcy. You step carefully through the departing crowd, stepping over where wishes, dreams, and ambitions have softened the earth. The air is still thick with inspiration and a kind of warm exhaustion that settles pleasantly in your bones, reminiscent of evenings spent watching the stars, each more brilliant for knowing they are just a peek into the vast orchestra of the cosmos. Apollo takes the stage one last time, his voice a soothing lull that hints the gods are perhaps not so distant, after all just curious. Perhaps even a little bored with how things are always seeking to mold the mundane into something divine by a nudge to the cosmic order. As you pull away, the cool evening air settles over you like a soft woolen cloak, sheltering you with the promise of rest and a new dawn. You marvel at the stories weaving in your mind, spun like thread on an ethereal loom. You close your eyes, feeling the spirit of creation alive within you, perhaps a gift from Apollo himself there, to brighten the ever-twisting path ahead. All you can wonder now is whether you too create within your own shadows and light, finding new stories hidden just beneath the surface of each winding moment as you drift gently into sleep. The winding path through the ancient forest seems to stretch on forever, beneath the canopy of towering pines, their needles whispering secrets reserved only for those who dare to wander this mysterious domain. You walk with a quiet certainty, each footstep muffled by a carpet of fallen needles and the occasional crunch of twigs. Your breath aligns with the rhythm of the forest, a gentle peace settling into your bones as you follow a trail, now paved only by legend. Tonight you find yourself stepping back into an era of gods and mortals, where divine whims often entwined catastrophically with human ambitions. You're here to witness the fate of Marsyas, a satyr, known not just for his musical prowess, but unfortunately also for his ill-chosen challenge. The moon spills silver light through breaks in the foliage, illuminating your path, while casting playful shadows that flicker and vanish. You almost expect the dryads to dance across your path, their laughter like wind chimes in the stillness. Marsyas was blessed, or perhaps cursed, with a talent for music that could rival even the deities. With his flute, he possessed the remarkable skill to enchant listeners, weaving melodies as intricate as the branches overhead. Historians might pause here, finger tapping against their library tables as they ponder whether Marsyas's audacity stemmed from genuine belief in his abilities, or from a satyr's mischievous delight in stirring chaos. You suspect both. His challenge to Apollo, god of music, among other things, was a decision likened to poking a sleeping lion with a stick. But Marsyas believed in fair play, or perhaps he just underestimated the stakes, and so he proposed a contest. Musical contests were not uncommon in ancient times, a way to settle not just scores, but to also gain prestige among peers. It's whispered that the winner would be allowed to do whatever he wished with the loser. Marsyas, clearly high on confidence, or goat's milk, probably hadn't considered the fine print. The forest opens into a clearing by a thundering river where the contest was once held. Here you can almost hear the echoes of the past, the ethereal strumming of Apollo's lyre, mingling with Marsyas's haunting flute. You feel the tension of the competition, a silence so thick you could carve your name in it with a knife. Birds, perhaps attuned to the significance of the moment, chirped obliviously as nature's scorekeepers. The winds of change blew, and Apollo in his divine glory infused his music with a power that transcended the mortal realm. You imagine Marsyas, faltering the weight of hubris, heavy as the shade of Apollo's effortless superiority, descended like the twilight. It was not Marsyas's technical skill that lost him the contest, it seems, but rather the profound God-touched emotion in Apollo's melodies, a lesson in humility not easily taught or learned. Of course, what you really want to know is why Marsyas didn't just read the mood and gracefully exit the stage. But alas, foresight is a privilege seldom granted to those with their heads full of dreams, or satyr's wine, perhaps. The contest ended, and with it, Marsyas's hopes of divine equivalence. As punishment for his audacity, an offense that gods perceived as a bitter insult, Marsyas experienced a fate that was stark and unavoidable. It's here you might shiver, not just from the cool night, but from the thought of what comes next. History says he was flayed alive in a public spectacle, meant to remind mortals of the peril in challenging the divine. You might flinch at the brutality, an echo of empathy. It's human, after all. Even now, whispers in the wind might tell stories of the river, that ran red in Phrygia, a testament to the sacrifice of ambition on the altar of humility. Not to be left entirely on a somber note, you consider, did Marsyas perhaps find a peculiar sort of immortality in his defiance? His tale lives on after all, while many other satyrs surely lived peaceful but forgotten lives. You decide that it's something, and while everyone could use a little bit of optimism mixed in with their history lesson, even if it's mixed with goat horns and an echo of flute music lost to time, as you return along the path, the forest once again envelops you in its verdant embrace, letting you ponder the finer points of hubris and harmony. The whispers of the trees seem more forgiving now, as if they understand the convoluted paths of mortal ambition. You mock yawn as an owl hoots its nightly question into the night, a rhetorical who echoing Marsyas's own eternal why. You find yourself thinking of the satyr's melodies, imagining them drifting into the night sky, weaving narratives among the stars for sleepy storytellers like yourself to discover centuries down the line. As you continue walking, the gentle rustle of the wind through the trees feels like a lullaby, reminding you of the cyclical nature of stories, how they blend into one another, seam by seam like the constellations. By the time you reach the edge of the forest and step onto the road, there's a calmness in the air, as if Marsyas himself has extended a peace offering from beyond. The satyr's story, one of ambition, punishment, and unexpected immortality, lingers gently on your consciousness. And maybe it offers a lesson too obscure to fit neatly into the lines of a bedtime tale, but too valuable to dismiss entirely. You find your pace slowing unconsciously as the night deepens, thoughts drifting softly like leaves on a placid river floating toward the horizon, where dreams and history blur seamlessly into the comforting embrace of sleep. The story of the river begins with tragedy, not of the landscape, but of a man whose pain was said to shape the world. You're standing by a narrow stream, feeling the cool air brush against your face, watching the water curl past round stones. The river whispers the secrets of antiquity as it flows. It's hard to imagine that right here swirls of water mark the path of a bloodline mingled with tears. You lean closer to the murmuring waters, mindful of the myth that from sorrow such beauty emerged. Historians argue whether this river was born from legends or if its origins are more mundane. Yet no one disputes the ancient lore that paints it as a poignant memorial. The man whose anguish etched itself into Earth's memory was a leader, one who walked these very banks with heavy heart. You imagine him cloaked in shadows, wrestling with the burdens of a ruler. You find your toes playing along the river's edge, feeling the slight suction of mud, as if the earth itself wishes to cling to any form of life. Did he stop here just as you do, pondering the past and future? Both you whisper to the reeds. They remain silent, of course, but something in the gentle breeze seems to say yes. Perhaps in his time, there was much the same, a canopy of stars giving way to dawn or the glow of dusk. This evening, as colors blur like watercolors in mist, you wonder if his eyes trace these same horizons. Maybe, as the legend suggests, his grief spilled into the soil, transformed by time to a flowing reminder of impermanence and immortality. Back then, history records the thuds of horse hooves and the clattering of armor that marked the presence of leaders and wars. You try to imagine the blend of chaos and order, the balance of power that the ruler once grappled with. Surrounding kingdoms pressing against borders, each determined to claim dominion. Political alliances formed over shared meals in torch-lit halls, with tapestries flickering in the firelight. They were as fragile and fleeting as the dew you now see on the grass. A gentle chuckle escapes you as you picture one historian's claim that the river's true origin could be credited to a particularly rainy season. Such practical explanations almost seem out of place, though they bear their own form of logic. The truth, as it always does, likely sprawls somewhere between myth and rainfall. The night air grows cooler and you wrap your cloak tighter. Imagine the sound of hoofbeats resonating through the hills as envoys arrived in the now silent courts, past the sentinels standing guard. You can almost smell the rich perfumes mingling with the scent of freshly roasted meats, tokens of prosperity displayed as symbols of goodwill. They say he cried for days. A voice gentle and speculative seems to murmur from the reeds. It could be your own thoughts echoing, as though the river wishes to engage you in dialogue. You let the sound of water guide you deeper into the lore, where words are unnecessary and history breathes through the lullaby of the stream. What was it like, you wonder, to have one's pain immortalized in the bones of earth and water? A drop from your fingertips plinks into the river waves, briefly rippling outward, a miniature map of expansion and connection. Light sarcasm brushes your mind in passing an immortal river. Sure, and here you are trying to skip stones as though you'll unlock an ancient secret. But who doesn't fancy a bit of fantasy by moonlit riverbanks? As you walk along, there's a sensation of stepping through time. The past feels as near as the fabric of your cloak. You wonder if he ever foresaw this, the countless lives his story would touch, the centuries that would pass, with his legend carving its own identity into the hearts of everything here. You exhale slowly, letting your shoulders relax, listening to the eternal river that has borne witness to both heartache and healing throughout ages. Even as your mind delights in fanciful connections, grounding your thoughts in actual events brings its own comfort. The deeds performed by this long-mourned leader were not so thin as whispers. He enacted policies, led campaigns, entered treaties that shifted the fate of nations. Yet beyond the static facts lies the humbling mystery, the transformation of personal sadness into a landscape feature. People still gather around telling tales under twilight. With each step away from the water's edge, you feel the river's firm presence, its own heartbeat within you. The legacy may be old, but your connection to it feels immediate, intimate. Isn't it curious how stories passed down through ages still find roots in the human heart, as if they're returning home? As you retreat from the river, it's tempting to look back to see if shadows might resolve into figures from history. But there is only the rhythm of night creatures perforating the otherwise gentle silence. You feel the evening's embrace soften around you, and in the stillness lies a promise of restfulness. Perhaps the river is not simply a river, but a thread in the vast tapestry of human emotion, a reminder that out of the depths of what we endure comes something enduring. Whether legend, rain, or tears, you leave this place feeling enveloped by the soothing balm of timelessness, ready for the next leg of your inward voyage. As you wander through the serene temple gardens, the evening air hangs softly around you, blending the faint scent of olive branches with the delicate aroma of lavender. Your thoughts drift to ancient times when the goddess Athena might have walked here herself. Your steps are gentle, almost as if you are floating through history, past weathered statues and under foliage that rustles with whispers of distant stories. In the back of your mind, you can't help but wonder about that flute. Did Athena really cast it aside, preferring the valor of her spear and shield over the melancholy notes carried by the wind? A gentle breeze tousles your hair, bringing with it the faint echo of music as if to tease you with possibilities. Historians still debate whether the tale is true. Could Athena truly have started so fervently with music only to abandon it? Your fingers brush against the rough stone of an old pillar cool to the touch. You imagine Athena poised beside you, arms crossed, her gaze as stern and unyielding as the marble itself. Perhaps she found that the flute's soft sounds clashed with the fierce roar that rages in the heart of a warrior. You can't help but smile at the thought of Athena trying to play a calming lullaby before marching into battle. In the distance, the texture of the landscape changes, transitioning from the structured beauty of the temple grounds to an expanse where warriors would gather, under an open sky with the sun's last rays painting everything in a golden hue. You picture the goddess holding her spear firmly, the embodiment of wisdom and warfare combined. Each muscle tenses with purpose, the gleam of her armor echoing the dying light. Gazing out across what used to be a bustling training ground, your imagination conjures up shadows of the past. Laughter and shouts echo almost real enough to touch, and you pause, letting the sensation root you to this moment. Despite the peace that envelops you, there's an electric anticipation in wondering what it felt like to stand among the warrior spears, clashing in rhythm with determined heartbeats. You might even chuckle to yourself. It's definitely more exciting than our version of gym class. Nearby, you spot an ancient olive tree, its trunk gnarled and twisted with age. As you sit against it, finding comfort in the worn bark pressed against your back, you muse about how the victories and defeats witnessed by this enduring sentinel must blend together over the centuries. You can almost hear Athena whispering through its leaves, guiding the champions who gathered beneath its branches. As the stars begin to dot the evening sky, your thoughts grow more pensive. Athena, often accompanied by her wise owl, was a symbol of wisdom for the ancient Greeks. Yet the wisdom she offered wasn't always about seeking peace. It was about understanding the necessity of battle, choosing when to fight and knowing when to stand firm. You think maybe this is why she set aside the flute. It simply couldn't capture the full essence of her dual nature. Can we ever truly know why Athena abandoned music for the clashing of shields? You smile as you're reminded of a sleepy conversation between two old philosophers, arguing over whether a goddess should be concerned with earthly music when wisdom and bravery call. You imagine Athena rolling her eyes at such idle prattle, more concerned with strategy than pleasing human curiosity. Then, as if on cue, the night thickens, deepening into a quiet, enveloping cocoon around you. No sounds but a gentle rustling and an occasional nightbird breaking the hush. Resting there, you feel a peculiar kind of serenity, as though you've stumbled across a truth acknowledged only by you and the stars above. Athena never returned to the flute. In your heart, you sense she never needed to. There was already a wholeness, a perfected strength in her grasp of the spear and shield, protecting and leading those who sought her wisdom. You exhale slowly, letting your breath carry your thoughts into the universe. As the night gradually subsides into deeper shades of blue, the world around you finds its slow, rhythmic breath. The landscape transforms smoothly into a gently swaying sea of shadows, rocking to and fro like a cradle in the moonlight. Your journey here has traced the steps of warriors and thinkers, transporting you through one of history's great stories. In this quiet reflection, the narrative of Athena reveals its timeless advisement to embrace the balance of our own life's conflict and tranquility. The fine line that Athena walked continues in every exploration of our hearts, reminding us of the strength we hold within. Your worries begin to fade, each concern gradually softening into the comfort of knowing you were guided by an ageless watchfulness. Just as Athena left the flute behind, perhaps you'll discover what you truly need by setting things aside and focusing on what guides you forward, allowing the spear and shield to symbolize your own heartfelt resolve. You feel the pull of rest, that delicate whisper, encouraging you to lay your weary mind to sleep. The landscapes of remembered dreams in the world, gone by now, softly melt into the possibilities of your own dreaming world. Now, in these last moments before you drift completely, imagine a single owl, silent and brave, perching high in the tallest tree. It watches over, not unlike Athena herself, casting a calm and knowing gaze over all that has come to pass tonight. As you gently float towards dreams, feeling loved and protected, every breath is a light and soothing lull. Softly you turn inwards, welcoming a touch of guidance and support in the embrace of night's tender arms. Sleep well, knowing you are under the gentle watch of the wisdom and strength wrapped in this tale of kind ancient echoes. Like Athena's quiet acknowledgement of what truly resonates tonight, you finally find rest. You turn a curious ear towards the gentle whispers that ripple through the olive groves, carried on the warm evening breeze. There's something enchanting about the way myths weave themselves into the fabric of a landscape, as if the stories are etched into every tree and hidden within every shadow. You find yourself in a time when gods mingled with mortals, and music was the breath of the world. In the heart of Lydia, where the sun spills golden light across the earth, you wander through lush woodlands, where each leaf seems to shiver with anticipation. It's here that Marsyas, a satyr, known for his prodigious musical talent, chose to challenge the god Apollo. The wager a musical contest that promised immortality in its outcome if only you could survive the tension in the air. A soft laughter echoes around you, and you can almost see the Muses, the ethereal goddesses of inspiration, flitting between the trees. Some say they favored Marsyas, enchanted by his haunting melodies. On the aulos, a double-reeded instrument capable of stirring the deepest of emotions. It's whispered that they listened more intently to his tunes than to the structured harmonies of Apollo's lyre. But it's one of those things people seldom admit aloud, like a secret carried by the wind. As you tread slowly across the damp earth, you picture the scene before the contest. Marsyas, full of bravado, yet tinged with the nervousness of a challenger facing destiny. His flutes rest lightly in his hands, glowing in the dappled sunlight. There's a murmur of anticipation from a nearby brook, and you wonder if even the waters are aware of the trial about to unfold. Historians still debate whether there was truly an audience of woodland creatures and whispering nymphs, though you'd think they'd be front-row fans for such an event. And there you are, not just a bystander in this tale, but a participant feeling the weight of history in every breath of the fragrant spring air. You ponder what it means to be favored by the Muses, to hold their approval, or to believe you do, and how that might affect one's sense of invincibility. Suddenly, you're not just standing in a grove. You're inside the unfolding story where dreams blend with reality like two shades of ink in water. It's a gentle reminder of the fragile lines between success and hubris, between divine favor and mortal folly. You exhale a faint smile on your lips as you imagine how Marsyas felt buoyed by the thrill of divine gossip and a god's attention. Your companion winks out the corner of your imagination, perhaps a muse herself, hinting that sometimes secrets are best kept in whispers. Doesn't it just make you want to play a tune she seems to murmur before fluttering away into the dusk? The evening stretches on serene and unhurried, as if time itself is caught in the web of Marsyas's melody. You step forward, both anxious and eager to hear the outcome of a contest that echoes through history, contemplating the courage it takes to challenge a god. Through you flows the music of both sides, the fluid symphony of Apollo, and the earthy, vibrant notes of Marsyas. It's a dance of sound, a conversation between soul and certainty. And as your journey continues through these ancient trees and tales, you can't help but think, maybe it was a foolish dare, maybe a bold stand, or just maybe it was the music that mattered most of all. You find yourself in an ancient world where the air is thick with the melody of music not yet written on paper, but living in the hearts of those who call this place home. The sun is setting, casting long shadows over a modest hillside, where the sound of flutes delicately weaves through the trees. As you wander closer, the playful notes of a simple wooden flute drift into your ears, soothing and soulful. The flute, unlike Apollo's famous lyre with its celestial grandeur, feels entirely believable in your mortal hands. It rests against your lips light as a breeze yet deeply resonant with each breath you give it. This is no divine instrument of Olympus. It's crafted from reeds plucked beside a babbling brook, or from the wood of an olive tree, perhaps even passed down from hand to hand among those who believed the music it could make wouldn't simply belong to the heavens. In this grove, you spot a group of travelers settled around a fire, their conversation a gentle hum under the twilight sky. Did you know one of them remarks, with a flicker of mischief in their eyes, that a shepherd once played such tunes to charm the very stars above the pasture? You chuckle, half wondering if that's another tale, spun like the wool they wear. But part of you almost believes it, just as you believed stories about the flute's origins are far from settled. Civilizations throughout time have embraced the flute, from the bustling markets of the Indus Valley to the grandeur of Egypt's pyramids. Yet historians still debate whether its earliest iteration first sang out across a Neolithic hearth or echoed between the stony cliffs of a Mediterranean coast. As you picture these scenes, your fingers inadvertently begin to mimic playing the slender instrument thumb and fingers, dancing lightly over imagined air holes. You sit beside an older gentleman whose hands are calloused from years of crafting such flutes. These pipes, he whispers, eyes twinkling, carry warmth from our hands, songs from our spirits. A shared silence stretches like a quiet stream beside you, interrupted briefly when he taps the end of his nose, a conspiratorial glint suggesting the flute's notes might be playful enough to coax a bear from its den. A soft wind rustles through, bringing with it the scent of wildflowers and earth warmed by the day's sun. The camp, now dimly lit by the fire's embers, makes your weary eyes grow heavier. You can almost taste the rich sweetness of the night, like honey drizzled over fresh bread. Someone nearby starts a tune, a haunting melody that seems to rise and fall with the flickering light. The sound becomes a bridge to vivid memories you imagined, long-lost fields, fertile with hidden stories and bustling towns where merchants barter over silk and spices. You wonder if in such places the music was heard as clearly as it is here in the solitude of the night. Your thoughts drift between these images floating in your mind, and the reality that music like this is forever etched in our shared human experience. Perhaps it is not the crafting of notes, but the spaces in between that capture what it means to be part of this vast, unending tapestry. Like sneaking a piece of fruit from a market stall, the allure of each pause and breath in the music feels mischievously inviting. Next to you, the older man softly hums, echoing the flute's song. The tune mingles with the distant chirrup of cicadas and the occasional crackling from the firewood, creating a natural symphony orchestrated by the night. You sigh contentedly, shoulders relaxing, and you close your eyes for a moment, allowing the senses to wrap you in a cloak of tranquility. You must never underestimate, the old man says quietly, the power of a simple melody. Its strength lies not in complexity, but in the soul it awakens within each of us. His words echo deeply in the history of every note played on this humble flute, a companion to emperors and paupers alike, moving between grand halls and simple campfires with ease. Your mind wanders to the mythic tales carried by similar flutes across mountains and seas, perhaps used to summon the rains or stir the hearts of lovers separated by fate. As the fire burns low and the night deepens, you feel a poignant sense of belonging among these fellow travelers and musicians. Like the flute itself, there is a kinship here, unspoken, but undeniably strong, built from shared experience and the silent promise of tomorrow's dawn. You sense your thoughts dancing on the edge of sleep, wrapped in the gentle embrace of warmth and music. There in that liminal space, you hope to carry the flute's simple yet soulful nature into your dreams, where melodies paint the sky in quiet, comforting hues. The night air is crisp. As you wander along the pastoral hillsides, the grass beneath your feet whispering with each step. As you look up, the sky is a tapestry sewn with thousands of stars winking down at you like the knowing eyes of ancient gods. There's something timeless about this place. It's as if the very earth is imbued with stories, eager to share its secrets, if only you listen closely enough. As you crest a hill, you're greeted by the warm, comforting scent of a small campfire. Gathered around it, shepherds sit wrapped in woolen cloaks, their faces illuminated by the soft, flickering glow. The leader of the group nods at you as if you belong there, and he carves deftly at a reed, his knife moving with the kind of practiced ease that comes from decades of habit. Around him, other shepherds hold similar instruments, and you realize they're making flutes. One by one, they test their creations, coaxing out gentle notes that rise into the night air. "Long nights, good company," the leader says, his voice a low rumble, same as it ever was. You chuckle softly at the simplicity and truth of it, the timelessness of humans entertaining themselves under the stars. It's an art as old as civilization itself, a small ritual connecting the present to countless centuries before. And you wonder, with a touch of fond sarcasm, if these melodies were meant to soothe more than just the sheep. Historians still debate whether music was merely a pastime or something deeper, a ritual perhaps to call upon the spirits or to bind a community. As the wind carries away the tunes, you contemplate how such serene moments are also small acts of defiance against the chaos of life. Yet for all the scholarly uncertainty here, you sit enveloped in the palpable serenity of this makeshift concert. The shepherds laugh and converse in low tones, sharing stories, likely exaggerated, in the way only truth can be after dark. You're reminded of tales your own grandfather told you, each story ending with a whimsical twist or a cunning punchline. The young shepherd next to you raises an eyebrow as he leans over, whispering, "You don't really believe half of those stories, do you?" You shrug nonchalantly. "What's the fun in questioning a good story?" you reply, knowing full well that the line between myth and reality often blurs. As you stretch out on the cool grass, your senses tune into the quiet symphony around you, the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze, the occasional bleat of a sheep, the distant howl of a lone wolf, and above it all, the soothing notes from the shepherd's flutes. It's as if nature itself is harmonizing with the music, creating a lullaby for anyone willing to listen. You lean back against your small pack, the weight of centuries of such nights pressing down softly upon you. The earth feels solid, ancient, an unyielding witness to this moment and countless others before it. You exhale, slowly, feeling your body unwind the tension of the day, dissipating into the star-studded void above. A hushed murmur among the shepherds catches your attention. One points to the sky, tracing constellations with his finger. The others follow the invisible lines he draws, nodding in recognition or curiosity. They share a joke about one of the stars being an old shepherd who never returned from his night watch. Another retorts with a jest about better mustaches being discernible from the stars. It's light-hearted banter, the sort that comes with time spent in familiar company. Do you ever wish to travel among them? You ask the question, almost an afterthought. The leader chuckles, the sound rich and warm, like a deep rumbling laugh that originates from friendlier souls. Oh, we wonder, but here's where we carve out what we need. Our world is enough for now. You nod in agreement, feeling the truth in his words. As the music plays on, a sense of tranquility washes over you, a gentle reminder that sometimes all you need is the simplicity of the present moment and the shared cadence with nature. You inhale the brisk air, letting each breath ground you deeper into this peaceful respite beneath the cosmic canopy. With another light jest exchanged among the shepherds, something about a goat's ambition leading him to chase a particularly bright star, you close your eyes, letting the music and banter envelop you like a warm blanket. Centuries have passed, yet this scene remains unchanged, a comforting constant in a perpetually shifting world. In this age-old dance of time, the shepherds continue their melodious vigil, creating temporary realms of harmony and nostalgia, their notes caressing the night and threading through the stars. You realize that beneath this timeless sky, you too are a thread in the elaborate tapestry, joined with countless others who have gazed at these same stars, listened long into the night, and felt the amicable embrace of shared stories and tunes carved from reeds. And slowly, as the last strains of a flute reverberate through the night, you wonder if some celestial shepherd isn't watching from above, content in his own eternal watch, smiling at the universality of these tender, tranquil moments. The gentle breeze rustles through the reed beds, a sweet whispering sound that seems to carry ancient secrets. Perhaps it's the echo of long-gone voices, the stories that time has not quite managed to silence. You stand at the edge of this marshy expanse, gazing out toward the ancient city of Athens. As the reeds sway and hum, you can almost imagine Athena herself, the goddess of wisdom, pausing her divine duties to listen, and perhaps even to smile. Historians still debate whether Athena's divine gaze ever graced the city in its nascent days, watching over the birth of democracy and the arts. But as you walk along the path lined with olive trees, their silvery leaves fluttering delicately in the breeze, you can sense her presence in every stone, every whisper of olive-scented air. These trees, you know, were said to be her gift to the people of Athens, and you can't help but wonder if that myth was simply a very effective early PR campaign. The city sprawls beneath you, a tapestry of history, woven from sun-bleached columns and bustling marketplaces. You settle onto a bench, its wooden slats warm under the gentle caress of the afternoon sun. Leaning back, you squint against the brightness, watching the interplay of light and shadow dance across the ancient ruins in the distance. The Parthenon stands proud atop the Acropolis, an enduring testament to classical architecture, a time so far removed, yet somehow closer in this light. As you muse over these wonders, a tour guide passes by with a small group, and you catch snippets of his lively retelling. Imagine, if you will, he grins his voice carrying on the wind, being a young Athenian all those centuries ago, hearing rumors of the magnificent statues being carved of Socrates himself, waxing philosophical in the agora. You chuckle softly, imaging Socrates with a smartphone full of hot takes. Your attention turns back to the rolling hills where shepherds once tended their flocks, perhaps quite like the scene before you. Now a shepherd with a pair of dogs guides his sheep through the pastures. It's a tranquil sight, one that might mislead you into thinking that life in ancient times was all serenity and piety. In reality, you know it was a complex tapestry of politics, war, and societal growth, not quite the bedtime lullaby you were picturing. A soft rustling nearby breaks your reverie. It's a child running gleefully through the reeds, laughing as they part and sway, with his every movement nature's tapestry, entertaining the youth just as much as any modern gadget. It's a scene almost timeless in its simplicity and happiness, a vivid reminder of how little some things change regardless of century. You walk back through the agora, now a mere whisper of its bustling past. Merchants no longer haggle loudly over exotic goods, nor do philosophers debate the essence of life. Instead, tourists like you wander among the scattered stones, piecing together the stories left behind. Here, you secretly, whimsically challenge yourself to spot where Plato might have dropped his pen. Continuing on, you reach a shaded courtyard where a weary traveler could have once rested, perhaps exchanging tales over a shared jug of wine. You pause there, resting your back against the cool stone wall, allowing the hum of the reeds to fill the silence, an ancient natural lullaby soothing your modern nerves. The smell of fresh-baked bread wafts through the air, tugging you from your musings and pulling your feet toward a nearby bakery. You enter, greeted by the warmth and scent that no doubt transcends centuries. As you savor each bite, you momentarily become not a distant observer in a time long past, but a participant, sharing in a universal, delicious ritual. Evening approaches, and you make your way to the Acropolis, eager to witness the play of sunset light on its majestic ruins. Up the stairs, you go each step, a reminder of the feet that have walked here before, including those of many historians who've debated whether the sacrifices made at the Parthenon ever quite lived up to their divine intentions. Finally, you stand before the grand columns silhouetted against the fiery sky, the skyline of modern Athens sprawling below, like a sea of glimmering lights. It's easy to lose yourself here, to let your mind drift among the wonders of past and present blending seamlessly into one. You breathe in deeply, the cool night air mixing with the subtle hint of olives and sea. As you begin your descent, you hear a flautist playing softly beneath the arches, the haunting notes mingling with the light evening breeze. Each melancholy note, each deliberate pause evokes a sense of connection, a thread stretching from here to antiquity and back again. And maybe, just maybe, as the wind hums through reeds, Athena remembers and smiles. The rhythmic patter of your footsteps echoes softly in the growing hush. The bustling sounds of the day have faded to a gentle murmur, the city taking on a tranquil, comforting stillness. Your heart feels lighter, your mind quieter, caught in that space between reality and dreams, where time seems suspended. As you leave the Acropolis behind, the city wraps around you like a warm blanket, each street and corner whispering more stories, more secrets, just waiting to be uncovered. With a fond glance back at the ancient stones, you find yourself seeking out one last glimpse of this majestic vista before descending fully into the modern world. The Parthenon aglow, with its own inner light, stands like a guardian of all that once was, and all that continues to be, the thoughtful shepherd of history. Slowly, you make your way to where your day began, back through the quiet streets and under the watchful gaze of Athens' enduring legacy. The gentle winds playing through the reeds continue to hum, their ancient tune cradling the city in an embrace of serenity and peace. A conflation of past and present sways in the gleam of moonlit tendrils, a reminder of cycles unbroken by time. And so you stand part observer, part participant, truly relaxed now, as the stories of Athens cradle you like a beloved bedtime tale. There is comfort in the continuity, solace in the song of history, whispered through the reeds, past heroes and heroines, watching as you drift lulled by the beauty of bygone worlds into a dream-laden slumber.